Welcome to our turf cluster proposal for the USDA SCRI Grant 2011. When I start a project, I like to start off with the project need. And for this, project need is accelerate technology commercialization that increases efficiency and sustainable resources for the turfgrass industry. As we go through this presentation, you'll see this need become more apparent, and how we can form a cluster or form a group that can help facilitate this acceleration of technology. It's clearly documented that there are several problems, a number of substantial issues that turfgrass is facing this year: increasing regulatory pressure, increased input costs. As you see with the St. Petersburg Times, that local governments are now beginning to ban the use of pesticides and fertilizers because of runoff issues. Several of us within this cluster area are currently facing some pretty big runoff issues, or sensitive lakes and streams or waterways. So what is a cluster or a business ecosystem? It's a group of organizations that work in concert towards a common end. This could include numerous different companies, including competitors, or universities, local governments, but it's a group of organizations that are working together in concert. Several examples of clusters include Detroit, Silicon Valley, New York, Hollywood, and Ohio. We have several clusters. Many of these clusters form just naturally over time. We have fashion, polymers, and food processing. Some of the benefits of a cluster include long-term competitive advantage. This is especially important for businesses and organizations that are competing to become more stronger and more competitive. One of the other main benefits, is increased innovation. Because of the collaboration and the competition working together, this leads to increased innovation within areas. Some of this comes from a critical mass, some of it from a spillover standpoint, and the employee base. As you can see, there are a number of arrows on the before you. Many of them are pointing in different directions. Some of them are working against each other, like these two, and some of them are working with each other. When you form a cluster, you can reduce competition by helping everybody get into alignment, or you can by reducing competition. Now, you're not going to remove all competition, but we're going to be able to reduce resources spent on competing against each other and working to move the industry forward. A lot of this comes from everybody focusing on their core competency and working together more efficiently. One of the key areas within this cluster development is honesty. Within honesty, we face this element of a prisoner's dilemma. The prisoner's dilemma starts off with two crooks that are caught and are known to have robbed a bank, but the police are unable to prosecute them efficiently because they don't have enough evidence. So what they do is they separate the prisoners and try and get them to confess or to turn the other guy in. So the prisoners, they have two options. They either defect and work with the police, or they collaborate with their partner. Now, part of the problem is that they're separated, so they don't know what the other guy is going to do. Ideally, it'd be best if both of them just didn't talk or didn't say anything. Then there would be no evidence or anything to convict them on, and they would end up getting sentenced to a smaller crime or a lighter crime, which maybe ends up being 6 months. However, if one of them turns the other in, the other guy ends up getting 10 years in prison, and they get off. They get off without any time in prison. So what happens if they both turn each other in? Then they both get a 5-year prison sentence. Optimally, from game theory, it shows that it's best for them to both turn each other in. Now, how does this apply to cluster development? Well, it's all about honesty and working together with your competitor. And especially when it comes to technology and ideas and concepts, this opens the door for potential people to steal ideas or to be dishonest. So one of the founding elements of this is honesty. And when it comes to cluster development and moving clusters forward, is establishing a code of ethics and being able to enforce it or do something to maintain the integrity of the group. And we have a few ideas on how to do that, but we won't get into those at this time. Why turfgrass? Well, turfgrass is a $35 billion industry. It's number 2 in seed crop production within the U.S. And we all work within turfgrass. There's quite a strength within this area, and we have significant industry pressures. Those industry pressures are interesting because what those will do is help adopt new technology as it's commercialized. When there's a significant problem, it opens the door for new ideas and new technologies to be invented, and then they're more readily adopted. Why sustainability? Well, for those within academia, this is an important issue that keeps coming up. It's a point of discussion, and there are a number of water bodies that are being that are experiencing runoff from pesticides and fertilizers. So there's some national trends that need to be addressed. Environmental responsibility is another key issue, and this idea of environmental responsibility and these sustainability issues, they're pretty much here to stay. They're not going away. So now seems like a really great time to put our energy into this, as it's been growing over the last 10 years or so. Within business and industry, they don't experience a lot of backlash or any consequences for any unsustainable practices. But what needs to be also understood is sustainability. It can be profitable and it must be. This is a concept of social entrepreneurship, using economics and entrepreneurship to encourage good stewardship. Within this cluster, we also look at being able to investigate the economic viability behind some of these technologies, and this can be a powerful driver in adopting these technologies or sustainable practices. So what can sustainability mean? It means reduced inputs, co-products to profit. These are alternative waste streams or other products that are not necessarily intended, but they need to be used, and these can be often reformulated or packaged into a new product for profitable to gain profit. Better sustainability can also mean better synthetic actives that are reduced usage or more effective. It can also mean better organic technologies or practices. So there's quite a wide area, working between what sustainability really can mean. Ultimately, it's reduce, reuse, recycle. But above all, it has to make economic sense, or there has to be a way to some sort of a driver that brings the technology into the market. I just want to touch back again, and the focus of the cluster is renewable and sustainable materials within the turfgrass industry. So we have goals of this cluster to organize a new regional cluster around turfgrass and sustainability. We're looking at the creation of a lab or some organization that will be able to support these initiatives on a technical or market research standpoint where we can look at, from one end of the spectrum, the business case and economics behind it, to the other side, which is being able to support technical improvements or research that needs to be done. And the last goal of our cluster our grant proposal is to commercialize 3 new technologies within the life of the grant, which is 2 years. Turf cluster activities, we want to focus on the executive responsibilities to start off with, which include the formation of an advisory board, annual market and technology report. These are basic things that the executive would be responsible for in executing this organization. But we would also want to leverage the existing events, or for networking and trainings. Within Ohio, we have OTF, Turf Conference, but we also have the Sense Show, and some we know that Pennsylvania has, and in Michigan they each have their own turf field days and other trade shows. These would be leveraged in supporting this cluster development. Now, we talked about the creation of a lab or some sort of support services that would cover marketing intelligence and technical intelligence. Within these support services, there could be some rapid screenings done that would be fairly standardized or regular, but also there's the potential for much more interesting or difficult, challenging research that the academic community would be able to publish off of that might be more interesting to them. We could also provide equipment analysis and engineering support within these support services for spreaders and other application equipment. One interesting concept or idea that could be a part of these support services would be the ability to support university faculty in licensing some of the technology. Within the universities, there may be new technology or ideas that the faculty may not, or researchers may not know the value of, or know how to move it towards licensing. Developing a business case, or doing some market research, or analyzing the economics behind the technology might be helpful in moving it towards a license deal with some of the other organizations. And within the cluster, there may be licensing that does occur if there's a new idea or a valuable concept or intellectual property. Last off is project management. Now, this is a key element to the success of this cluster as well, is the best management practices of project management. We would follow PMI, the Project Management Institute, philosophy and standardized process in commercializing these new technologies, or having a plan laid out that we can all follow and that's clearly communicated between each of the people involved in the commercialization effort. Right now, our technology portfolio includes just a few technologies: Anderson's AGT, granules. We've been working on this technology, OSU has, for about the last 2.5 years, and we currently have a grant that's funding this work. There's also a new granule applicator that would be able to potentially reduce the amount of fertilizer needed by accurately distributing the granules over the golf courses or other surfaces. And this is another technology that we're looking at. We could include some sustainable products or some biologically active, natural and synthetic. But we're completely open to new technologies for our portfolio. And in the grant proposal, choosing the best one that's going to be the most helpful in winning the grant, but also be the most successful when entering the market. So right now, who are we? We have currently confirmed collaborators: the Andersons, Ostara, the Ohio Bioproducts Innovation Center, and then the Ohio State University Extension and OARDC. We've invited Syngenta, Penn State, University of Michigan, and we're open to any additional collaborators that come that can support our initiative. You can find us on the web at http://netgbe.obic.us. We're having a kickoff meeting December 17th, 2010. The grant is due January 31st, 2011. If you have any questions, you can go to the website and you'll find my contact details, and my name is Kenneth Anderson. Thanks.